The Association for Civil Rights in Israel, ACRI, has been backing the protesters. Reporter David Ze'ev spoke to Dan Yakir, who is chief legal counsel of ACRI.
The behavior of the police is outrageous. The task of the police is to facilitate the basic right to demonstrate and not to obstruct it. Even if there were change of circumstances, it was unreasonable by the police to announce a change in their position on Thursday evening when there wasn't ample time to either try to get to a new understanding with the demonstrators, or to allow the Supreme Court to hear the case and decide whether the demonstration needs a license or not.
Right, that's the point. The fact that Eldad Yaniv says that, in fact, this demonstration was legal is due to the fact that the Supreme Court, the court didn't ever get to deal with it in its latest stage since from the point that the police said they couldn't allow it anymore.
Right, and it is disputed whether this demonstration needs a license or not, but even if the Goren Square is too small to accommodate 3,000 people, and if this is so, it might be moved to another place, the alternative site that the police suggested, the big park of Petach Tikva, is totally unacceptable because it's removed from the city by a six-track, very wide road that makes the park totally detached from the city, from bystanders, from the citizens, the inhabitants of Petach Tikva, and totally isolate the demonstrators.
Well, if we're talking about the inhabitants of Petach Tikva, specifically this neighborhood where these demonstrations have been taking place, they do seem, at least some of them, to be complaining about the protest. Don't they have that right?
Yes, definitely they have the right to complain, and any demonstration obstruct the peace and disturb the ordinary life, the day-to-day activities. But that is the price that you have to pay in a democracy to allow freedom of demonstrations. So 3 hours a week is not an unreasonable burden.
Okay, so let's talk about democracy here for a moment. In terms of the fact of the division here between the politics and the legal side, between the cabinet and the Knesset, let's say, and the Attorney General, even though he is an appointee of the Prime Minister, he is. That's the whole point that I know a lot of people sometimes raise questions about, that thin line between the Attorney General and the political establishment. Is it, I don't know if legitimate is the right word, but is it legitimate to be protesting against the Attorney General, to bring in the legal establishment to the political realm, if you will?
Of course it's legitimate, and the demonstrators think that they have to encourage the Attorney General to investigate the Prime Minister. Whether this is true or not, this is their basic right to voice, to question the activities of the Attorney General, and to question whether he is zealous enough in investigating the Prime Minister.
By the way, do you at ACRI, at the Association for Civil Rights in Israel, have an opinion as to whether Attorney General Mandelblit has been acting according to the way that he should, that he doesn't seem to be slowed down, shackled by the political establishment?
I don't have any basis to get to that conclusion, and the recent developments show the opposite, but it's perfectly legitimate to hold that view and to try to encourage him to act more speedy.
Okay, we're talking to the Chief Legal Counsel of the Association for Civil Rights in Israel, Dan Yakir. One more question, if I may. The police are charging that Eldad Yaniv has been especially flagrant in some of his comments, I guess, either on Facebook, Twitter, perhaps in interviews. First of all, What do you say? How do you react to that kind of police statement, justification perhaps, to their action to arrest him?
The arrests of Manny Naftali and Eldad Yaniv were outrageous. They were relying on the legal opinion of the lawyers that said that this demonstration is legal. They challenged in the Supreme Court the position of the police. The police didn't give enough time for the court to hear the case before they decided to prohibit the demonstrations at Goren Square. And there was nothing illegal in calling people to demonstrate there. And only shortly, only recently, the magistrate court at Petah Tikva released them without any restrictions because of that.
So what does ACRI intend to do now? How do you expect this to play out?
Tomorrow, the High Court of Justice ordered the police to file the response by tomorrow, and I guess that the High Court of Justice will set a hearing this week to decide whether the police is right in demanding the demonstrators to get a license for the upcoming demonstrations in Petah Tikva.
Dan Yakir, Chief Legal Counsel of ACRI.